So I came home to find stepdad's entitled daughter moved in and locks changed. So I'm a 31-year-old woman, and I just bought my very own house recently. To celebrate, I decided to throw a housewarming party and invited all my family and friends to come over a few days ago. I also invited my parents to the party, but I was very specific in telling them that I was only inviting them. I did this because I wanted to avoid my mom bringing her new family along. You see, my parents split up nearly 15 years ago, and it's been just us since then. About 2 years ago, my mom got married again to a man named Adam. Adam has a daughter named Emma from a previous marriage, who is 21 years old now. Emma is the kind of person who thinks she deserves everything without working for it. And honestly, she's the kind of person I just can't stand. Adam isn't much fun to be around either. It's pretty obvious that they don't really like me much, and the feeling is mutual. So, naturally, I didn't want them at my housewarming party. This party was a big deal for me, and I wanted to enjoy it without any drama. Despite my clear instructions, my mom decided to bring them along anyway. When I confronted her about it, she said she hoped this would be an opportunity for me to get closer to her new family. She thought it would be great if we could all just get along. I didn't want to make a scene at my own party, so I didn't push the issue further that day and decided to let it go for the time being. However, Emma couldn't help but make a rude comment about my house during the party. She told all my friends that she could afford a much better house with her salary, which, by the way, is nearly half of what I earn. That really got on my nerves, so I responded by saying she should go ahead and buy her own house then. I mentioned it would probably make her parents happy to see their 22-year-old daughter move out of their basement. My comment made a lot of people laugh, and Emma turned bright red with embarrassment. I could tell she was humiliated, but she was the one who started making rude comments. So I didn't feel too bad about what I said. With so many other guests to take care of, I didn't dwell on it and moved on to chat with other people at the party. After the housewarming party was all done and everyone had left, including Adam and Emma, my mom stuck around. That was when I decided it was time to have a serious talk with her. I told her straight up that I wasn't looking to make her new husband and his daughter a part of my life. I'm already in my 30s, which means I'm totally capable of choosing who I want to hang out with and who I'd rather not deal with at all. Unfortunately, my mom's new husband and his daughter are just not people I enjoy being around. They haven't been nice or respectful to me, and that's putting it mildly. Then, my mom dropped a bombshell on me. She suggested that Emma, her stepdaughter, should come live with me for a bit because Emma's new job was way closer to my house than to where they lived. My mom thought that if Emma and I spent some real time together, I'd start to see her in a different light. I couldn't believe what I was hearing and said no way right on the spot. Just getting through one evening with Emma at the party was tough enough. The idea of having her in my house every single day? No, I couldn't even begin to think about how stressful that would be. Emma acts spoiled, doesn't show any manners, and I just knew I didn't want that kind of energy in my own home. My home is supposed to be where I can relax and feel comfortable, not a place where I'm on edge all the time. My mom really tried to persuade me to let Emma stay, but I wasn't having any of it. I told her straight up that it was not going to happen ever, so she might as well not waste her energy. My mom got really mad and left in a hurry, and I didn't go after her. I felt there was no point in dragging out the argument because there was absolutely no way I was going to agree to her crazy idea. But then, just when I thought things couldn't get any weirder, something totally unexpected happened the very next day. I got an alert on my phone from the security company that monitors my house, saying there was a break-in. I left work immediately and raced home, only to find out that I couldn't even get into my own house. The locks had been changed without my knowledge, and I could hear voices inside. I was just about to dial the police because, honestly, what else was I supposed to do in that situation? When Adam, who's now married to my mom, opened the door, he pretty much told me I wasn't allowed to come into my own house anymore. He said this was supposed to be my punishment. I was super confused and asked him exactly what I was being punished for. Adam wouldn't give me a straight answer. Instead, he told me I needed to figure it out by myself, but threw in a hint about how I had stood up to Emma during my housewarming party. According to him, I had been disrespectful to her in my own home, and that was a big no-no. Adam then explained that they had taken over my house because I had refused to let Emma move in with me, which had upset my mom a lot when she left the party. He said he thought I was acting too big for my boots, and that it was time someone brought me down a notch or two, and apparently he had decided he was the right person for the job. I was so shocked and annoyed by what he was saying that I just laughed at him. I told him straight up that I was going to call the police and have both him and Emma thrown out. They had no right to just barge into my house and act like they owned the place. But then Adam tried to play a card he thought he had up his sleeve. He bet that I wouldn't actually call the police because it would deeply upset my mom. He knew all about my mom's bad history with the police and how much she wanted to avoid them because of her past experiences. He figured I wouldn't want to do anything to make my mom mad at me. Adam even went as far as to say Emma deserved to live in my house more than I did. Then he just left me standing outside and slammed the door in my face. Left there on the porch, it hit me that I really didn't have many options. Despite Adam's bet, calling the police seemed like the only real move I had. It was clear that Adam and Emma had made themselves at home and weren't planning on leaving just because I said so. So I picked up my phone, called the police, and hoped for the best. The police arrived within an hour to evict them. They caught Emma in the act of unpacking her things, as if she was planning to stay for good. Adam was totally taken aback. He had not expected me to go through with calling the police, especially because of how my mom feels about them. I knew this decision would probably upset my mom, especially given her traumatic history with law enforcement, but I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. My home was being taken over, and I couldn't just stand by and let that happen. I had to stand up for myself, even if it meant causing a rift with my mom. I found myself in a situation where calling the police was the only option I had left. My mom called me about an hour ago to talk about it, and the conversation didn't go how I expected. She wasn't angry with me, which somehow made me feel even worse. I thought she might yell or be really upset, but instead, she sounded deeply hurt. She told me that if I was really that against the idea of letting Emma, my stepsister, stay with me to try and show she wasn't the bad person I thought she was, I should have just picked up the phone and talked to her first. She believed she could have solved the whole issue without it getting so out of hand. But what really got to me was when she said she couldn't forgive me for the way I chose to handle things. According to my mom, calling the police and getting Adam and Emma thrown out of my house was a step too far, and because of that, she said she couldn't see herself speaking to me again. She felt what I did was something she just couldn't get past. Hearing her sound so sad and defeated really broke my heart. It didn't seem like she was just putting on an act. She sounded genuinely upset. Normally, my mom is someone who's drawn to drama, but this time it felt different. She seemed truly disappointed in me, which was a lot for me to take in. Even though I felt like I hadn't done anything wrong, I apologized to her during our call. Unfortunately, it didn't change the situation. She still ended the call, blocked my number, and now I'm left feeling terrible about the whole thing. I keep turning it over in my mind, but I can't see any other way I could have handled it that would have made Adam and Emma leave without calling the police. To me, involving the police felt like the only choice I had at the moment, and I'm struggling to understand why my mom is taking this so hard. I know she's had some really tough times in the past, especially when it comes to dealing with the police, but it seems like she's not trying to see this situation from my perspective. It feels a bit like she's only thinking about herself. I never wanted to make her relive any of those bad memories. The whole mess just spiraled out of control. And if there's anyone she should be upset with, shouldn't it be her husband and my stepsister for making such a drastic move and causing all this trouble? I feel so bad about everything that's happened. I can't go into detail about my mom's past with the police here, because it's not my place to share her personal stories. But now, I'm left wondering if I should try apologizing again, or if there's anything else I should do. So am I the jerk here for calling the police on my stepdad and stepsister, even though I knew about my mom's bad experiences with the police? Update 1. Alright, I was hesitant to share this part of the story because I felt it wasn't my place to talk about my mom's personal experiences without her okay. But since this is all going to be anonymous on Reddit, and no one can figure out who we are just from this post, I think it's important to give you the full picture. This way, you'll understand better why my mom has such a hard time with the police. So here's the thing. About 15 years ago, after my mom and dad split up, my mom started dating someone new. This guy was a police officer, and I'm sure you can guess that things didn't go well. This guy, my mom's boyfriend, was really bad news. He was the kind of person you hope never to meet in your life. Somehow, he managed to keep my mom in a relationship with him for over 2 years, which was nothing short of a miracle given how awful he was. He constantly put her down, destroying her self-confidence bit by bit. He also cut her off from everyone she knew, making her more and more isolated. There were times when she could only meet me once or twice a month, and even then, it was like she wasn't really there, like her mind was somewhere else. Things got even worse after a while. He didn't want her seeing anyone because he was jealous of her past and wanted her to cut off all ties with it if she was going to be with him. This guy was the epitome of jealousy, pettiness, and insecurity. Honestly, he's the last person I'd ever want anyone to date. Their relationship finally ended, but not in a good way. He left my mom out of the blue, running off with a coworker in the middle of the night. All he left for my mom was a letter, telling her he didn't want to be with her anymore and confessing that he'd been having an affair for the last 8 months. This whole ordeal left my mom with a deep-seated trauma regarding police officers, which explains her reaction to my calling the cops on Adam and Emma. After that whole ordeal with her boyfriend who was a cop, my mom was really sad and down for almost a whole year. It was like something inside her changed, and she ended up being really scared of anything to do with police. She couldn't trust them at all anymore. It was so serious that there was this one time she lost her purse and she wouldn't even think about reporting it to the police. That's how scared and distrustful she had become of them. So you can probably understand why my mom felt so betrayed and hurt when she found out I had called the police on her husband and my stepsister. To her, involving the police was the worst thing I could have done. It felt like a huge betrayal, and the crazy part is, her husband and stepsister knew how she felt about the police. It makes me wonder if they did what they did on purpose, hoping it would drive a wedge between my mom and me, maybe even turn her against me for good. But proving something like that? That's nearly impossible. It's just my side of the story against theirs. When the police showed up, Adam looked pretty shocked, but Emma? She didn't seem bothered at all, which makes me think even more about their intentions. Now, there's not much I can do except hope that my mom will see things differently eventually. Even if she doesn't, I have to be okay with it. I know I did everything I could to avoid trouble and keep things peaceful, but it seems like they were determined to stir things up. Now it's up to my mom to decide who she wants to believe and stand by. Update 2. It's been nearly 2 weeks since my mom and I last talked, all because of what happened. I have a feeling Emma is probably thrilled about the whole situation. I don't keep tabs on her social media, but a buddy of mine showed me a photo Emma posted a few days back. It was a picture of her, my mom, and Adam all hanging out at the beach, wearing sunglasses and looking relaxed. The caption was something about, "Just the fam recovering." I'm not sure what she's claiming to recover from, because from my point of view, I'm the one who had to deal with a stressful mess because of her and her dad's actions. I brought the whole situation up to my dad to get his take on it, and he thinks I handled it the right way. What other choice did I have, given everything that went down? He even mentioned that before the housewarming party fiasco, my mom had asked him for advice on finding a cheap place for Emma to live that was close to her job. Since my dad works in real estate, but more with selling houses than renting them, he told my mom he couldn't really help unless she was looking to buy a place for Emma. My mom seemed like she was considering it, which is kind of shocking. Adam, on the other hand, didn't want to invest in buying a house just for Emma's temporary job situation, which does make some sense. But what really gets to me is how different my mom's approach is with Emma compared to how she was with me. I remember when it was time for me to go to college. My mom insisted that I figure it out on my own because she wanted me to learn independence and self-sufficiency. She wouldn't help me financially with tuition, saying it was for my own good. Yet it seems like Emma gets a pass and a lot more support. It's hard not to notice the stark difference in how my mom is treating the situation with Emma compared to her approach with me growing up. It really bothers me that my mom seems to have a closer relationship with Emma, who isn't even her own daughter, than she does with me. Seeing them together on a beach trip really got to me, especially since my mom always told me she didn't like the beach. She always said she preferred going to the mountains, or maybe hiking through the woods whenever we talked about going on vacation. I've always liked the beach, but I had to give up on that idea whenever we planned trips, because I knew if I pushed for it, she wouldn't want to go, and we'd probably end up not going anywhere at all. So, seeing her change her preferences for Emma, doing something she never did for me, feels really unfair. I didn't expect to be as upset by that social media post as I am, but it hit me hard. It's like Emma is getting to have the mother and family experience with my mom that I always wished for, but never really got. My mom just wasn't willing to be that kind of mom for me, and it's really painful to admit. I think I need to have a conversation with my mom when she gets back from her trip, because this silence between us is just too much to bear. Even if the conversation ends with her telling me she's disappointed in me and me deciding I don't want to talk to her anymore, I feel like we need to have at least one more talk. It might be our last, but I just can't keep going on like this without trying to clear the air. Update 3. I told one of my friends to tell me whenever they think Emma is back from her vacation. I learned that they came back yesterday. I don't know how I'm going to bring this up with my mother, but I know that I have to get through it somehow. She has blocked me on her social media, so I can't use that to get to her. But she hasn't blocked my number, and I guess I'm going to have to call her. It's going to be hard because we haven't spoken in almost 2 weeks and we aren't really on the best terms right now. My dad thinks that I should give it a day or two before I contact her, but I think she'll answer if I call her right now. She's probably in a good mood from the vacation, so that might lead her to accept my call or something. To be honest, I just want to do this because I feel brave right now, and I want to rip off the Band-Aid as soon as I can while I still have the courage to do it. It's just been one day since I learned that my mother is back in town, but I almost feel like throwing up because what if she doesn't answer my call and this is it? I haven't done it yet because I feel like if she doesn't answer my call, then that'd be pretty earth-shattering for me. I've never had that great of a relationship with my mother, but it was a relationship still. So if I lose that, then I don't know what I'm going to do. Update 4. So, I finally worked up the courage to call my mom, and we just finished a phone conversation that lasted nearly half an hour. During the call, I opened up to her, sharing everything I've been feeling about our relationship and what I've been going through lately, just like I've written in my previous updates. It was really tough to be so honest about my feelings towards her as a mom and to lay everything out there. But I felt it was crucial for her to hear all of this directly from me, even more than sharing it with you all here. She didn't say a lot back to me, but she did mention that she understood where I was coming from. She even expressed a wish that she had been a better mother from the start. I wasn't really sure what to make of that comment, and I didn't dive deeper into it because I thought it might be something we could explore more when we meet up in person. We've planned to have lunch together tomorrow, and I'm already feeling anxious about it. The thought of sitting down with her face to face is making me really nervous. I'm worried it's going to be super awkward. I might be the one making it awkward because I'm already stressing about the whole thing. Every time I think about meeting up, I worry I might say or do the wrong thing, and I can't shake the feeling that something might go wrong. Ever since she remarried, it seems like our interactions are just waiting for the next big issue to arise. I'm just really hoping that this meeting doesn't prove my worries right. Update 5. Hey everyone, I'm on my journey back home right now after having lunch with my mom, and honestly, I just can't bring myself to head back to work today. I'm feeling pretty down, and all I really want to do is go home, maybe pour myself a glass of wine, and just chill in bed without worrying about anything else for the rest of the day. The chat with my mom didn't really go as I had hoped or imagined it would. It's not that it was a total disaster. We did manage to talk through some of our issues, but the way things ended up, it sort of feels like we're breaking up. Except this feels way worse than any breakup I've ever had. This isn't like breaking up with a boyfriend who decides to leave for someone else. This is about my mom, who seems to have chosen her stepdaughter Emma over me, and that just hurts on a whole different level. I feel like since you all have been following along with this saga, you deserve to know how the meetup went. It started off pretty normal. We hugged when we met, which was kind of nice, and things seemed okay for a little bit. But then, as we really got into talking, all these feelings I've been holding back just came rushing out. I ended up telling her how much I wished she had been there for me in the way she is now for Emma. It might sound odd, especially since I'm grown up now, but back when I was a teenager, I really needed her. And she just wasn't there in the way I needed. I shared with her that I felt like I deserved to be treated better by her back then, and seeing her change so much for her new family has been really tough for me. It's hard for me to understand why she couldn't have been that person for our family when we were growing up. I know I'm in my 30s now, but it still feels like the younger me missed out on having the kind of mom I needed. It's like I'm talking about wanting a different version of the same person. As I spilled everything out to her, I could see her getting teary. It was obviously really hard for her to hear all this, but I just couldn't stop myself. I felt like this might be my only chance to really say everything that's been on my mind. I had to take this opportunity to lay it all out there. I made sure she knew that despite it all, I do love her. But I also couldn't shy away from telling her that I think she could have been a much better mom to me. When I was done, my mom told me she was truly sorry that she hadn't put in as much effort with me as she is now with Emma. My mom opened up about her past during our conversation. She shared that back when she was younger, she really just wanted to live her life for herself. My parents got married super young because that's what their families wanted. And then they had me when they were still pretty much kids themselves. My mom told me she wasn't ready to be a mom when I came along, but my grandparents insisted she take on the huge job of raising a kid, even though she didn't feel prepared for it at all. After she and my dad split up, my mom felt like she finally got a bit of control over her own life for the first time. She admitted she became a bit careless with that freedom. By the time she and my dad officially divorced, I was old enough that she thought I could fend for myself, so she started to step back. But the truth is, she had started to check out from our family life way before the divorce papers were even filed. It's a hard thing to hear, but my mom confessed she didn't really want to be a mom back then. She decided to start putting her own needs and wants first, which was both selfish and immature. She explained how tired she was of always doing what everyone else expected of her, and she just couldn't handle the pressure anymore. She wanted to live life on her own terms, even if that meant our relationship suffered. Now she feels like she's ready to be part of a family again and take care of her loved ones. Unfortunately, that meant she became the mother to Emma she never was to me, and a partner to Adam. She acknowledged that I was right about her not being the best mom or partner in our family. She recognized her selfishness was a big part of why things didn't work out. Hearing all this, I thought maybe we could start fresh. Now that everything was out in the open, it seemed like we might be able to move forward and work on building a better relationship. My mom suggested that maybe it would be better if we didn't talk or see each other for a bit. She thought that since we were both dealing with a lot in our own lives, adding stress from each other might not be a good idea. She said maybe taking some time apart would help us come back to each other stronger or something like that, which sounded pretty silly to me. Deep down, I knew the real reason she wanted a break from talking wasn't just about stress or personal issues. It was because of Adam and Emma. They clearly didn't like the idea of her being close to me, and it seemed pretty obvious that my mom was putting their feelings above mine. So, while I wasn't shocked by her suggestion, it was still a huge disappointment. It felt like my mom had a golden opportunity to make things right, to be a bit less selfish than she had been in the past. Yet, she chose to let me down once more. It's really sad, and it hurt a lot, especially because for a moment there, I thought we were actually making a real connection, like we were finally understanding each other as people. Turns out I was mistaken. Her admitting to her mistakes didn't really change anything. She was still ready to push me aside, treating me as if I wasn't even her daughter, just to keep her new family happy. But you know what? It's okay. This whole situation has shown me that my mom was probably never going to be the parent I needed her to be. It's a bit sad to come to terms with, but there's not much I can do about it now. And honestly, after being let down so many times before, I'm not even surprised anymore. All I can do is move on and focus on my own life. Thanks for watching.